Hello, and welcome to episode number 18 of Creative Collaboration Conversations with Veronica and Jillian. And I am Jillian.
And I'm Veronica. And
Hello.
can you believe it's episode 18?
18.
Oh gosh,
I know.
time flies.
It's a big deal. It's we're approaching, the big 2-0. Woohoo.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So,
So what's today's topic? What are we going to chat about?
I was about to launch the same question, but you just put it back back onto my card.
Yeah.
So, a very important apologies, a very important topic, especially for small entrepreneurs, but big ones as well. So today we are talking about working on your business instead of in your business. Very important. And I have to admit, I was guilty, especially with my first business and also with the second one, but in the first year or two, not really recognizing the difference. Because when you are working, actually, when you have your own business, you don't realize what is in and on, and there are so many small things that require your attention that it's overwhelming.
Yes.
So what our attempt today with this episode will be to just clarify the difference and provide some tips on how to do that and why.
Yep.
Actually, I think this is the most important. Why is that
Mm-hmm.
beneficial and
Mm-hmm.
must be a priority, not the second thought or yeah, we'll do it whenever.
Yeah.
But what's your intake into? Are you
So
working on your business or in your business?
on at the moment. But I just to quickly tie back to our previous episode, I think it kind of set the table for this conversation because it's a very typical process for businesses to kind of ride the wave of, new business acquisition,
Yeah.
and then just work on that. And then when it's like, I don't want to say you run it into the ground, but when the engagement is complete, to then feel like, oh no, and then start the whole process all over again.
Yeah.
So it
And
creates
always
this
starting from
erratic.
scratch,
Yes.
not
Yeah. Start
continuously
all
building and
over.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this, it creates this erratic, like feast or famine situation. So you hear from a lot of business owners, it's like one of the primary reasons business owners will leave their business and go back to a traditional employment is for the
Mhm.
consistency sake. And so
Yeah.
that is something that there's a lot of obviously validity to that, but it is also something that we can be a little bit more diligent about to proactively create in our businesses, right? Or at least increase the likelihood of it, put ourselves in a position to have consistent income. And so it's doing the opposite of that feast or famine thing.
Yeah.
And that's where that delineation is of working in the business is you're servicing clients, you're, working on the deliverables, but it's a really important step to also make sure routinely every single week or it's scheduled in to take a step back from the work that we're doing, the client service work or customer service, whatever it is, creating our product or thing, taking a step back and looking at our overall business, the objectives, where we're at, kind of look under the hood a little bit to see, do we have a pipeline of opportunities? Are we delivering well? Et cetera, et cetera. Check our numbers. It's a really important piece to do that. And I think this is one of the most shied away from pieces or just flat out ignored for a lot because, and I have seen this in my, almost 20 years working with businesses, it's a very typical thing for business owners. Often a business owner is great at their craft, starts
Mhm.
to do their thing and is successful. And then in order to manage that success, starts to hire some other people. And next thing you know, you have a team of 3 or 5 or 12. And now you're trying to do your thing still, but now you've got all these people to manage. And for, a number of people, they really actually love their craft, not as much about running the business. So that's another
Correct.
important piece in here, which is not necessarily the topic for today, but it's highly relevant. So maybe we'll just table that for a future chat or episode.
Could
But in
be a
any
good
case,
topic.
yeah, I think it is so critical to be able to, like you said, Veronica, to delineate the difference between what activities are working in the business and what activities are working on the business, and to make sure that the working on the business finds its way into our calendar routinely.
And I think it's very important to do that, also to have a check-in with you. I think I'm counting on you to give me the number of the episode. I'm the worst at this. When we discussed about falling in and out of love with your business.
Number 16.
Thank you so much. Because that's
Mhm.
very important when you do this working on your business. You see what is working, what is not working. What do you need to change? What do you need to adapt? Because
Mhm.
as you said, a lot of entrepreneurs started their own entrepreneurial journey, because they love the craft.
Yep.
But being a business owner or entrepreneur, I don't even know which words apply, a founder, business owner,
Yep.
entrepreneur, actually it implies so much more than just doing what you're good at. And you
Yeah.
need so many heads to be switched during one day.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming. And I'm always saying entrepreneurship is not a job, it's actually a lifestyle, because you
Yeah.
can't switch it at the end of the day. It's consistent, it's always happening. And you can actually go to the grocery store and meet someone. Actually, I met clients while walking my dog, and you're talking
Yeah.
about dogs or whatever, and then you start having a conversation about
It's like, well,
business.
they brought it up. Look at, they brought it up, not me. It's like, yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
that you're actually selling, it's purely because it's part of
Yeah.
who you are, it's part of your identity. And
Mm.
it just comes out in different situation, when of course you're not going to go and start talking about your business with someone that is not interested. So don't push it to people, but if it
Mhm.
comes, it will be there. So that means you also need to spend that time and see, are you still happy, or do you need to change something? And we are always growing, so you do
Mm.
need to adapt what is happening, and you do need to adapt what is happening in your environment, from political, economical point of view, social point of view. Is your service still relevant?
Mhm.
Did your audience change? um, can they still afford your service, or maybe you don't want to work with that audience, maybe you want to change things. So all of those come into place when you're working on your business. So you
Mhm.
do need to take a step back and basically look at your strategy. And you do need to, in my perspective, you do need to do this at least once a year, when you do
Mhm.
your planning or strategy or setting up goals, resolution, or however you want to call them. um, and that's a great moment to take that uh, step back and
Mhm.
have that
Yeah.
helicopter view.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I would just what I typically do with clients is a quarterly business review. So we will generally have like the overall objectives for the year, but then touching base on it quarterly to be able
Mm-hmm.
to figure out, are we off track, are we not? Also to see, sometimes your plans for the year change because of some new
Yeah,
technology that comes out, or something happens in COVID, or whatever, life happens, right? And
yeah,
everything can change on a dime. So if we wait too long, we kind of miss the opportunity. And also,
I agree.
again, if we have the infrastructure set up and the mechanisms to collect some data about what we're doing in terms of how we're spending our time, where are the prospects coming from, what's going on with our team or our staff, their productivity levels, like some of these high level pieces. If you're not capturing that, it's going to be hard to figure out and put your finger on what's working, what's not, etc. What other resources do you have? How can you reallocate them? So I think doing that quarterly is a really important thing to be able to, assess where we at. Also, sometimes new opportunities can emerge that you weren't expecting. You might get invited to speak somewhere, or you might, have a neighbor move in and now have this great new opportunity, or like, who knows, your city might be looking for people to facilitate something. I mean, all these things can happen. Business happens in real time.
Yeah.
So to make sure you're positioned to be able to, I had a client um, we worked with for a number of years, like 6-7 years actually. And so we were working on their annual kind of strategy planning. And then midway through the year, almost midway through the year, an acquisition opportunity emerged. So, when that happens, suddenly, like, that's a big one. We can't wait till the end of the year to figure that out. So we have to quickly look at, capacity management, et cetera, how we're going to blend the two and all the things that happen with an acquisition. So anyways, I think it's I would say a bare bones minimum. Like, if you're not doing it at all, at least do it once a year, and probably today is a good day to do it. When's the right time? Now, because
Now,
actually
exactly.
by the time this episode drops, it'll be almost it's the end of the year. So this is a perfect time
Exactly.
to spend the end of the year, the very early part of 2024, putting together your plan. And the plan should include what are 3 to 5 things that you can measure. It's not just, I want to help more people, or I want to, like, I want to have, impact. It's like, great. How are you going to determine if you've met your objective?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up, because always when you meet someone, they will say, I want more clients. That's
Yeah.
I haven't met a client or prospect or a person no saying that. But how do you measure that? How many clients? What's your capacity? What are the processes that you have in place? Are you able to provide the same level of quality to all of them? How many hours do you need to spend for each client? So what's your availability? What are your resources? And if you don't know, if you don't work on your business and creating the right processes, you are not able to do that. And I do agree with you. You do need more check-in moments. So if an opportunity comes, then you need to stop and look on your business, start working on your business. But at least once a year, you need to get, I think there are a lot of people call them retreats or team buildings or whatever. You name it how you want. The core of it is you do need to analyze what is happening, look at the numbers, and see what do you want.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also, part of it is looking at, what does your pipeline look like? What opportunities are in there? And beginning to learn your sales cycle. It's like, for a lot of business owners, I know they feel like, oh, I don't like that, but it's important. And it's
Stop being afraid.
No, I know, but like, everybody's unique because their business situation is it's like, I know we all are unique, right? However, it's also true for us to begin to learn, what is the average sales cycle? Like, if somebody first finds out about you or your product or your service, whatever your thing is, when do they become a paying client? Is that a 1 week thing? Is it a 1 day, 1 hour, or is it a year long? Like, what is it? So you have some sort of an idea. And also, it's like, for every 10 kind of sales conversations you're having, how many of them are converting and becoming a new customer or client? Like, these are some pretty, it's like, it's really all comes down to math at the end of the day. Hence my board here. Yeah, it's largely math. So you want to be able to know those things. That puts you in a position to be more proactive with your business. So then when you're doing your QBR, you can look at, okay, so do we have anything in the pipeline department? If you know that you need, 15 conversations to get one new piece of business, and you look in your pipeline and you only have 6, then you have a situation. So you should make sure
where
you're
you should
always
put resources. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's really important to look at those pieces. Or
I'm so happy you're bringing this up, because I'm always saying it, and it's so simple. It's reverse engineering.
It is reverse engineering. It is, and I love this part. If you can't tell, what was I going to say? So I love this part. I forget what I was going to say. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
So I
got excited about the topic and I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's all right. It was probably super important what I was going to say. So what do we have here? So doing your QBR, that's an important one. So that's an example of working on your business. And you also had kind of talked about the previous episode about falling in and out of love with your business. So it's another part of it is to look at, how are you spending your time? What are the things that need to get done that maybe you're dragging your feet on, or you don't really love to do? And how can you either delegate those things or outsource those things? So that's an important part of, like, staying on top of your time, but also your energy, and the things that are giving you energy versus sucking the life out of you. Like, the things that suck the life out of us, let's try to do less of those things whenever possible.
And I think it's also a good moment to stay. You mentioned opportunities. Maybe also
Mm,
look to what, instead of looking at opportunities coming to you, looking at what is happening and do I want to make those my opportunities for myself or and
yep.
my business or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And this why one of the steps, the step 3 from my methodology is actually setting up goals, because
mm,
we tend to go for any new technology or shiny object or opportunities thrown our way or
mm-hmm,
requests without really aligning them with our mission and values, and do they make sense for what we need. But if you have these goals and you stop, as you said, quarterly, and you look at them, then or even not even quarterly, that can be even on weekly basis. It's easier for you to determine, yes, I do want to take this on, or
mm-hmm,
no, I
mm-hmm,
need to
mm-hmm,
not to do that. But if you
mm-hmm.
don't have, as you said, the clarity in terms of numbers, resources, you don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do. Like
Absolutely.
sales, the
Yeah.
pipeline, right? Do I need to speak
Mm-hmm,
more? Do I need to write more? Do I need to go and network and meet people? And we spoke, I
mm-hmm.
think it was last episode 17 about business development, right? Do I need to
Yes.
go and shake hands or not? So
Yes.
it's all connected. That's you can't really take out an element. It's like
Mm,
an organism. Think about
mm,
like our body, for example.
mm-hmm,
Probably you can function, but not, you do need help. Like let's say you're missing a hand, you could still do a lot of things, but you do need help.
mm,
So the
mm-hmm,
same, you don't want to do sales because you hate them, then you do need to bring an external party to do that, or you don't
mm-hmm,
want to do a specific activity, delegate, exactly like you said.
mm-hmm,
But until
mm-hmm,
you don't identify what is missing, you can't do that.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, to me, I go back to it, it feels like, I mean, there's not really, there's lots of frameworks we can use to scale our companies or to grow and all of these things, depending on what that means to you. But I think, just a starting point is whenever possible to put ourselves in a position to make the best decisions we can for ourselves and for our business. And one way we can do that is by leveraging data. And so looking at things like if we go take the time to go through and identify, what are the things that we can assign a numerical value to in our business, because
Mhm.
those are easier to compute, right? So we can
Correct.
identify those things. So and so I would say an example, like for myself, just trying to keep it simple. So there are some things I have in which a price tag is like 250, right? Euros, dollars, whatever currency we're going to say. So 250. So that's fine. So if I'm going to look at those, how many of those? I have to also look at, so what is my actual profit margin on that?
Mhm.
How much time goes into that? Does that set the table for future sales? Is there any kind of long-term value or, long
Is
tail?
it scalable?
Is it scalable? Does it give me energy? Do I really enjoy it? Do I not? Like, there's a bunch more to unpack with that, as opposed to client engagements, which are often, 5 or 10,000 a month, right? So that one might feel like, oh yeah, I can do that. But then I also have to know, all right, so how many hours is that going to take me? How much of my
Mhm.
time? Even if I don't do billable hours or any of that, there's still only 24 hours in a day, right? So I need
Yes.
to be able to know how I want to allocate my time. And so what is my profit there? How am I going to manage that? How much of it is my time, working time versus their project management time? And what is, those basic numbers? What's the actual revenue and the kind of profit per hour, or however you want to, whatever unit you want to look at. Yeah, so all of those things are important. And then also looking at your work week, which goes back to some of the things you've talked about, your own personal situation with your life, your goals, etc. So how many, what does your ideal work week look like? I had a chat with a guy earlier this week. He's building his like third company right now. It's like he's been quite successful. We were chatting about this. He was like, Jillian, I only have meetings between 10 and 4. He said, but except for you, I got a 7:30 a.m. because of time zones. He said I was the first one in the year. But anyways, he's like 10 and 4, 10 to 4. That's when I work, period. So it has to fit in that. So that's my schedule. The rest of the time, it's my time. So that's how he shows up. So whatever your
Mhm.
schedule is, to look at how many hours maximum, And so I'm actually doing this right now as well, like the maximum hours per week, and then looking at all the things that I need to account for in my week, right? So
Yeah.
there are some things that are business development, there's some things that are administrative, et cetera. There's some things that are client work, there's like content preparation, there's some data pieces, there's some relationship follow-up. So there are several big buckets, and then I need to look at how do I allocate my time, because
Exactly.
it can't be, I can't spend 90% of my time creating really fancy social media posts and wonder why I'm
You have no
struggling
business.
with consistent income. Yeah, so I have to figure out what are those numbers, and so tweaking those. And I've not been as good as I wish I had been over the years at recording how long it actually takes me to do certain things. I do ballparks on things, and I've always done time blocks. But that's one of the things I'm working on now, is to better hone in on how long it takes me to do specific things, so I can be even tighter with my schedule, because I need to be hyper efficient these days. So anyhow, I feel like that's all, part of how we can be proactive in working on our business.
I thank you for sharing that, because it's so important. How do you allocate time? And I'm doing the same. I'm not working nonstop. I used to at the beginning, and it's not
Yeah.
sustainable. And then you
Right.
realize the only commodity you really have is time, and you can't do
Yes.
anything about it. You have just 24 hours in a day. How do you want to spend them? And then you start prioritizing, and you see, how can I, the moment you start working on your business, you can fine tune the processes, and you can delegate, and you can actually be more efficient. And you know what is funny? The more strict you are with your time, people appreciate it more, because it becomes much more valuable, because you
Yes.
start valuing yourself and your time. So don't be afraid. That's my advice to all our listeners. Don't be afraid to be strict, and be clear, like, these are my availabilities. I'm also very strict when people can have meetings with me, not clients, but from outside, because I do want to have time for how you call them, the other buckets, and that's important to me. I do have what I'm doing, actually. I'm in a process like you. How much time am I allocating for each task? And what I do, I don't know if you can see, but I have here, I'm starting my day with the to-do list. So I'm writing what has to happen today, important and urgent, and how much time will that take me. And if it, of course, some tasks will gonna take 5 minutes more, some less. If I do it quicker, I'm just gonna celebrate and take that time for me. I'm not gonna put another task. I'm gonna have a tea, or I'm gonna have a break, or I'm just doing something for me. And I'm trying not to go overboard when it takes longer. So that's, I'm still working on that. But getting better. The trick is I'm getting better.
Well,
The more
that's
you
what
do
we're
it, you
after,
get
right?
better. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like creating a new behavior at first, like a new habit. And then
Exactly.
once we get the habit down, then we can start making improvements to it, right? But it reminds me of, remember our conversation about, I think we're talking about CRMs, but then also project management and how we do our
Oh,
to-dos
yes.
and whatnot.
Yes.
Is the same. So it just came to mind because you're talking about, you have your to-do list. For me, I tend to do things more digital these days, aside from my whiteboard, right? But aside from that, yeah. So I've been using an app called Toggle, which is just a Chrome extension, but it integrates with my Google Calendar. So now, because I've always had blocks, like color-coded blocks on my calendar for different things I'm working on, if it's tasks or if it's meetings or, what have you. So now I've connected that with Toggle, so I can keep track of, so if it's like a content block, I have 8 tasks within that to see what type of content it is that I'm working on, to be able to better understand how my time is being spent. It's just a simple plugin. So that's what I'm using. But yeah, and then you can do all kinds of reporting and whatnot. So, but yeah, I feel like it's the
For
same thing
me,
we talked. It's like the content thing we talked about. Whatever is going to be sustainable, whatever you're going to do, like consistently, that's your ticket. So use that. For me, I
exactly.
do better with digital tools. But for you,
I think it kind of depends. If you have a team, you
yeah.
do need to do it digital. For me, my way of thinking, and I love writing and I love this, I do need to write it down. So even if
Mm-hmm.
this will be translated in my calendar to block the time slots, it all
Mm.
starts with the pen and paper, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
personal. This
Mm-hmm.
is just clearly my preference. Um,
Mm.
but coming back to our topic, actually,
Yep.
and related to what you said is very important, because we said like you need to do A, B, C, D in order to be consistent and create that habit. But what we forgot to say is you need to actually reserve time, block time in your agenda for it, time
Yep.
that is non-negotiable. So even if something comes and you need to move it, you need to stick to it. You move it to 1 hour later or 1 day later or maybe 1 week later, but
Mm-hmm.
don't make it like, oh, it's not important, I'm gonna just keep on moving it and just push it. It you can push it, make a rule, I can push it 1 or maybe 2 times, that's it. The
Mm-hmm.
third time needs to
Mm-hmm.
happen, because
Yep.
if you keep on doing that, it will become like one of those tasks that you don't want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to provide, you're not going to give the attention, and then you end up in the like a hamster on the
Yes.
wheel going round and round
Yep.
and not getting anywhere. So you
Yep.
do need to be strict. I think an element of consistency and decisiveness will be, it's very important in this.
Yep.
Be
Yeah. I
your
think
own boss.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think procrastination is not very productive.
No.
So getting it done. Yeah.
And actually, that
Um,
brings me, maybe what will be good now to share a couple of tips that we applied or we know about, even if we didn't apply. And maybe this will be a nice way to round up the episode. We tend to have very long episodes um, on how to actually do it. Like we talked about the why, how, um, it influence your business, but how exactly can you be kept accountable and not push it
mm-hmm.
indefinitely
Mm-hmm.
down your in your calendar?
Mm-hmm. So, um, so I'm going to jump on that one because I think a couple things. So first, you mentioned the calendar thing, and so one thing that has been helpful for me is I actually have several different calendars available depending on who the person is and what the situation is, right? So I have
When
like
you say
working
calendar,
meetings, calendar
means
links, like a digital
okay,
calendar link. Yeah. So I
so
don't use
people
the
can
same
book a
one
meeting for
for
you.
everybody. Yeah. And so some of them have a 15-minute, a 15-minute max, like that's what can be booked. Others can book up to 90 minutes.
Yeah,
And so depending, or actually one of them is 2 hours. So it depends depending on, so I have a couple of different ones. Some of them are available on my website. Some of them are only available if, in certain situations, I'll share a link with them. So I use
I
those to
have the
help
same.
gate
Yeah.
my time. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's just one thing I see. I know a lot of people use a single Calendly link or something for everybody. But for me, I try to be a little bit more structured in the time
It's
that's
because
available.
if you go for the free option, you can have just one type of meeting. However, if you're
Mm,
paying for Calendly, then you have the option to have more. And what I
okay.
noticed, the more time you give, so if you set a meeting of 1 hour, people are gonna take 1 hour, even if you don't need. So what I learned actually, if you make the meeting shorter, even if in your calendar, I always keep 50 minutes extra,
Padding. Yep.
you are much more productive actually.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
It depends on the
Interesting.
meetings though. Depends on the
Yep.
meetings. But you
Yep.
know like the type of meeting and how much time do I need, or
Yep.
do I want to give
Yep.
them more or not?
Yep.
Sorry for jumping in. Just wanted to
No, it's
share that.
okay. Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. So then the other thing that comes to mind, and kind of to continue the thought, I think the direction you're going is in terms of accountability and such. For me, it's the external support, right? So
Hmm.
what other resources or kind of tools am I utilizing to help keep me engaged, help me focusing on building my business? Yeah, learning new things, getting ideas, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we've mentioned in previous episodes, but I think it's relevant here. So masterminds can be a really great, I think you've also had experience participating in mastermind groups.
Yeah, I actually created
Correct.
my own mastermind, but you can keep it. So mastermind is a great way, but you can keep it even easier and more accessible. Like the first, when I launched Spin Ideas in 2017, um, I have a friend, I have several, but a specific friend that she was thinking about doing her own business, and we were keeping accountable. We had a quick 15 minutes, half an hour check-in each Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you? What do you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And basically telling her what are my big tasks for the week. And the second week when we had the call and she was doing the same, was which one did you do? What happened? And then you kind of, once that you place it out there and somebody knows about it, you are more willing to do it. You're not gonna
Mm.
procrastinate it. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to
Mm-hmm.
show up. I need to show up in that meeting and I need to tell her
Mm-hmm.
I did or not. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
very simple thing that you can implement. And of course, it can be more complex. They are paid masterminds. How I did my mastermind actually was approach two ladies that I admired, and I was like, they are so smart and powerful and successful. They will never want to work with me. But guess what? They said yes, and we were meeting. We were meeting once a month, sharing about, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
where I'm in my business. What's your intake? All of
Mm-hmm.
us in different industries, different, totally different, but just getting that different perspective or just talking out loud about a specific topic related to
Mm-hmm.
your business was helping you do things, just put the wheels in motion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think masterminds can be great for that. And I think similarly to what you're describing, I think what's great about masterminds is if you can find, or it can be just an accountability partner or somebody to find at least somebody or a small group of people, mastermind or whatever, that are in a similar place as you, right?
Yeah.
So it's helpful to be able to, talk about similar things. It's like for anybody that's a parent out there, it's like, yeah, it's like bitching in solidarity. It's like, yeah, we all know we haven't slept. It's like my kid, now we're potty training or whatever. It's like knowing and feeling like you're not alone and getting some ideas and how they're handling situations. So it's really good for like the solidarity, like the camaraderie
Yeah.
piece. But another piece I think is great, and I know it's been wildly helpful to me. I've been very fortunate over the years to have had this kind of informal board of advisors of
Mm-hmm.
people that are, I mean, you could call them mentors, so you can use some words interchangeably here, but some people who are, a bit, a few decades ahead of me, had a lot of business and life experience, and frankly would say care about me enough to be honest with me. They, want me to succeed, but they're going to also be very honest with me about things, share
Yeah.
ideas and whatnot. And it's really helpful. And I also love to have conversations with people who have similar businesses, or similar objectives that are a bit ahead of me in business, so that I can learn from them. I
Yeah.
think
That's a very good one.
I really enjoy, looking for opportunities, like specific areas where I can grow. I love to see and learn from other people and what they've done. And I also think it's, maybe not as directly related to this conversation, but for me, it feels like it is, to do the opposite, which is to find people that are a few clicks behind us, and to not
Mm.
forget to reach back and to be accessible to those people as well.
Yeah.
Because if we
To
are
become a
hopeful
mentor,
or
basically.
yeah, to play that role, so it's like creating these chains, right? Because if
Yeah.
we're hoping or expecting people that are ahead of us to be willing to reach back and help us, then perhaps we ought to do the same. So
I
it's a
agree.
good way for, I think, also for us to be kind of regulated and not feel like, oh, we're so far behind, we're never going to have, a
Mhm.
7-figure business, or we're never going to have whatever the thing is that you're chasing or want, or your objective is. But then also like, hey, I remember when I was just starting out like
Yeah.
this person, and now I can help that person start to realize some of their goals and stuff. So I think those
And
are both
it's also
really
giving
useful.
back to the community in one way.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So yeah, so I think masterminds, communities, retreats, having some sort of
Yeah.
mentor or formal board of advisors, all of these things can be,
Peer
really
mentoring applies as
helpful.
well. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
to
don't
work
forget
on the
to turn
business.
to turn towards your team and listen to them, because
Yeah.
they are working with you, so they will see things that maybe you don't see, or they will
Mm,
be able to take you out of your comfort
mm,
zone or where you
mm,
are. I would add one more thing actually, to what you said. When you go and get it's basically just getting a different perspective. But when
mhm,
you get that, don't look only for the cheerleaders, because it's great to have cheerleaders and tell you you're doing so great, you can do it, and we need that. But I'm always looking for the critic as
mm,
well, because that enables me to grow and to see, what am I lacking? What do I need to
mhm,
do better? What do I
mhm.
need to say goodbye to? Um, and it, of course, don't get someone that is very negative and they will just say everything is bad and shit, you
Yeah.
should just give up.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not
Quit.
what I mean here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somebody that is willing to I think you just mentioned it, to be very honest with you, and you
Yes.
not to take it to actually take it as, this is something I need to hear and I need to learn in order for me to
Mhm.
grow.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and you
It's.
shouldn't take it that I need to stop my business and I'm doing really
Mm,
bad, and
mm,
what the heck is happening here? No, by all
mhm.
means, no. It's being real with you and seeing
Mhm.
what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of it as the kiss and kick. They'll, like, you
Yes,
know, they'll hug
every
me and then they'll give me a
yeah.
whack. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
But you know what? We have a saying in Romanian: every kick in the ass is a step forward.
There you
Is-
go. See?
You
Yeah.
know, I
There you
think
go.
the English
Whatever it
option will be
takes.
like, when a door opens, a window. When a door closes,
Door
a window
closes, a
is
window
opening.
opens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I like the Romanian version better.
it's more
Yeah. Concrete.
active,
Yeah.
concrete,
Yeah. More
exactly.
active. Yes.
I think one more
Um,
thing I would like to add to this tool that you can, or methods or tactics, however you
yep.
want to call them, to keep you, to help you work on your business, will be get a coach.
Hmm.
Because especially if you feel lost, or if you feel you are out of love, you fell out of love with your business, I think a coach will be a great way to guide you
Mhm.
to what do you want. So especially when we talk about your passion, and if you feel lost as an entrepreneur or founder, then I will definitely advise a coach.
Mhm.
And don't
Mhm.
forget consultants as well, for
Yep.
when you're a little bit lost, because sometimes actually what you need is structure. So get
Mhm.
someone that is specialized in that, and put there, like Jillian here, the
You're
master of
speaking my language,
processes.
talking structure and process, spreadsheets. Woo! Yes.
So sometimes it can be something as simple as that, just to get the structure right, and to get things kicked on, restarted, and kick off.
Mhm.
So it doesn't need to be very complicated. That's what I'm trying to say here. Sometimes a small tweak will make
Mhm.
such a big difference.
Yeah, especially if the tweak is I'm not working on my business presently, I'm going to begin working on my business. That's a really important tweak, right? That's just,
Exactly.
yeah, so that's a good starting point. But yeah, I feel like we packed in a bunch on this episode. So hopefully it was helpful and gives people a different idea or something that's actionable, that's relevant for their business. I know I always appreciate our chats. It helps me. It keeps me accountable having
Same
our
here.
regular conversations. But anyhow, so I think we'll put a bow on 18.
We put a bow on 18, and I think when we are sharing this episode, we should create a poll and see how many people are actually working on the business instead of in the business. Very
Mm.
curious to see that.
So I'm curious about that, but me with my like anal retentive data kind of way of thinking, I'm curious, like if there's a percentage, like how much of your time do you spend working on your business versus in? Like what percentage?
Oh,
How much
yes.
time do you allocate? Like I'm actually curious on that one.
I think that's
So I don't know.
a better one, actually.
Hmm.
So
okay.
thank you all for listening, and see you next week.
All right. Ciao.
Bye.